Okay, I wanted to give a quick review of the roster card system for HCNova. The reason for this is that um, in moving to a card drawing system for activation, initiative activation, and combat and everything. In other words, getting completely away from the dice. We have experienced some pretty good success. Enough that the admission that we will be recording damage to the mechs on the mech stand with a post, a 3D printed post, and O-rings. The simplicity and the expediency of doing that is superior to any kind of roster, which makes what you're looking at here obsolete. However, if you do want to keep damage secret, of course, the opposing player can always try to remember what's happening to you. But if you don't use the O-ring poster method for recording damage, then using the roster card is the best way to go. Now, in the large version, this 4x6 index card, 6x4 index card you're looking at, I see that there are some things that have to be changed, and that gives me the opportunity to give you a little review of how this works. First of all, down in the bottom part of the 6x4 card, you can see we've got an explanation of what the cards mean when it comes to getting a system management hit. And that's what these are right here. What's showing here is the older D6 version, and we're going to replace that right now by highlighting this text and just copy and pasting it in. So this shows the system management damage, and the description is down here, but this is abbreviated and the reason will become clear. Also, I see that the incremental hit limit hasn't been recorded for these blackjacks, so I'm going to put them in as 2, 2, and 2. And then, of course, don't forget to save, so submit and remain on screen. Right here. So the force description and the name are two different fields. The force description was created here such that down in the 3 vehicle roster, whatever you want to use 3 mechs as opposed to 4, because only 3 fits on the 6x4 card down below. I'll show you in a second. This name can be anything. We'll just call it blackjack for now. And because we don't have a force designed yet of up to 3 mechs. And also, it should be noted that in the damage roster right here, we typically would have a recording for the pilot. So you could put a pilot and then how many hits it would take for him to become inoperative. I don't want to say dead, but, inoperative. In relation to the pilot damage, there's the pilot CVS. Again, Simtai. So combat, morale, tactical, aggressiveness, and initiative are the numbers up here. So these are a 1d10 rolling better than this number to achieve those results, which again, we don't do anymore because we don't use the dice for that. For the times when you need to roll to see if something is successful or not, including a successful landing after jumping, that kind of stuff. But as the only 2 numbers that are used now are going to be the combat and morale of the pilot. So these are plus modifiers. So this pilot in this mech will always have a +1. Sometimes, I should say most of the time, that number appears there because the mech has a superior cockpit, which enables the pilot to be a better guy. Before I forget, here is an incremental hit limit total number, and over here is the number of hands that the mech has. You'll see here that incremental hit limit is also shown on the card for each of the three categories: move, defense, and combat. In general, the mech has a 3 limit incremental hit. Down at the bottom right, we'll see some little check boxes that create unique traits for the mech. Generally speaking, the melee exists when a mech has 2 hands or a battle fist. I don't think I've ever seen a mech with 2 battle fists, but at any rate, 2 hands gives it a +1, as does a battle fist. And again, before I forget, over on the right, which some people may not see because the screen doesn't show enough up, but you can see it if you reduce the resolution or increase the resolution, or however you want to phrase it. This is a mini menu of things you can access. So, as we have said, the business card roster, which is what the majority of the time we've been using instead of this 4x6 card, is what I'm going to show you now. But before I leave, I want to show you that it's a medium mech, and the name is Blackjack. Medium appears here. As we now have the card system, this medium mech has a defense of 6, and it moves 6 and jumps 3. For this mech, I'm not entirely sure that's correct. His agility is 1. That is a targeting benefit. I should say a defense benefit. And again, we got the pros and the cons right here. So the pros, we don't have anything here, but of course something could be there. And then the index page, which is on the other web page, is here to give the viewer an idea of the total value of the mech, a quick rundown of its worth. That's not entirely accurate. It just gives you an idea. So, given all this, because we made this change and anything else we've changed, let's go ahead and submit and remain again. So then now we're going to jump down to, oh, and by the way, if we want to get an idea of how this card is used, we can click this, if you can see this on your screen, over here, which is tied to the anchor of the web page, and that will take us down below to the to the index card explanation. So in using this database, you can scroll up until you see this little jumping arrow and go back to the top. All right. So now we can go to both the business card roster, and the reason it's a business card is because that's when you print this out, it's a business card size. It's noted that there's 2 options here. One of them was the original D6 version. The other one is the D10 version, although it does only show the 6 or 7 locations, if you will, for system management, because we changed it from dice to the cards. But these fields are tied into the field that we saw earlier. Again, you do have the roster for the simple system, wherein the damage is recorded on the mech simply for defense value, movement value, and combat value. The system management hits are recorded right here. So in this way, the simple business card layout is the intention here. This column for hits was intended for each line item to be recorded. But because we've changed the way this operates, this is a very simple list of the weapons. It's not an itemized list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So they're just listed. And I believe this should actually go away. Well, I forgot. The reason that's there is that this is weapon number 1, weapon number 2, weapon number 3. In case you do want to record exactly what a thing is being hit, which thing is being hit, the things are numbered. So you can do a 1d3 to see which item takes a hit if you're doing it like that. Obviously, if you're doing just combat hits, you wouldn't be recording up here. So there's some very good options here for how players want to play the game. And again, remember, this is written that way because that's how it appears up in the 6x4 card. Now, over on the right, we can see that what's intended here is you would screen capture this little area, and we use Snagit so you can get, well, however you have your own software, to grab just this region and put it into whatever you're using to print labels with. We use Brothers Print application for the Brother printer, label printer. So that's what we're looking at here. That's the business card layout. Again, you just capture this area. And actually what you do, depending on if you even want this, you can capture this whole area and then just fold it up as you want to create a simple business card layout. And then what we do is we put this in a business card sleeve, and if we want to, we put that business card sleeve in a tabletop a standee, which allows you to have the mech on the table as a card until you want to put down the actual model. So that's the reason a lot of this exists. So it gives you options, and that's what we're crazy about, options here, you know. And so that is what we're looking at for the business card. You can print this whole thing and fold it up as you need, with this, obviously with the picture of the guy in the front. And what I didn't show was the banner of the team or the force goes here, and the pilot's image goes right here. So let's go back to the top, and then we'll jump to the 3 mech layout, the 3 vehicle layout. And that's what this is right here. So here you can see that there's some modification that needs to happen. It's a little, we don't want to have it scrolling because you can't, if you're going to print this out, you don't want to have it cut off. So we'll have to adjust that. But you get the idea here, is the weapons, the name, the commander would be put there. Again, here, this is the symbol or whatever force icon you're using. And then these other 2 fields here, this series of fields here and here, are all done manually. This one here is automatically filled in because that's the first. Mech that's the mech of this page. And again, here you can put the force title. Again, we'll just put down Blackjack. And the reason it's done manually is because you might want to have the top, the first thing we looked at with the name, and this down here you may want to change it to, Tom's Raiders or something. And then of course the MDC values are supposed to be, we don't want them to be automatic because things might be changing. So these are all manually put in based on what you want to do. So I will adjust this so that it's not so crowded. It could very well be that you could just do this as well. Give a little space between the cards, and that lets you fit them all in without getting that scroll indicator. So you can see what they are. You don't need to mark anything here. It just gives you a summary of what the cards are. And then you can take that same thing, copy it, and then paste it for the next mech and the next mech. All right, and here again is the summary that we saw above. And this, of course, you could do the same thing here. say we had 3 of these blackjacks, they'd all be the same. And it looks like this may need to be adjusted as well. So I will go in and adjust that. And so this thing is a little neater. And then, of course, the name of the second mech and the third mech go here, and the commander as well. Now, on this line, excuse me, this is a manually filled in line. Okay? Manually filled in. And because we want to cut down how many fields we have, we're going to go ahead and say it's medium, and it's one whole line item. He's going to move 6, he's going to jump 6, and then we keep spacebarring over. The agility will give him 1, hands will be 0, and the system management here is going to be 4, 2, 2. And then the incremental hit limit will be 3. So that's how you do these individual line items. And then, of course, I'll show you. I'll show you how this is done. It's just simply move 6, space over, defense of, well, I didn't put it here, 6, 6 there, and a combat value of, well, we'll just do a combat value of, 5. So that's how you do this. Of course, we provided the options to put the commander image and the banner here, as well as URL links to the second mech and the third mech. The first mech, we don't need to put a link for him because that's the one we're looking at. This is the data of the mech. This is the page, the blackjack page that we're looking at. So, but these 2 guys are filled in, and then providing these URLs will let you jump to wherever the URL points to. So let's remember, submit and remain, and then I'll edit this stuff, and we'll come back. Now, when you want to copy this whole thing, and say you want to paste it in a Word doc and then print it, we've got a template right here for you to click. So you can click this. It will call the Word document from the OneDrive, and when you see that, you never want to edit in the OneDrive file that you've called. You always want to click the open in the desktop app in order to properly edit. I guess I should show you that. This is how it looks. So you never want to adjust this as you're looking at it online. What you want to do is you want to, where's the edit? It's off screen, but if you want to edit this, if you're not signed in, you have to sign in. All right, now you can edit. And then open in desktop lets you open the item, the page or whatever in the Microsoft Word app. And that is how you edit this. Now, you might say, well, it's ghosted. Why is it grayed out? Why is it ghosted? The reason for that, even on page 2, same thing, is because these images exist in the header. So double clicking the header will be able, will call this up, which then you can edit. The reason it's in the header is because, like every program has a nuance, every time you open the document, these things, even though there is an option to lock things in place, it doesn't always work. And don't ask me why. So we had to get around that by putting it in the header, which I was told, I found out is how it works. You can lock things in position by putting them in the header. Go figure. So, getting out of that, say you're done editing, whatever it was you wanted to edit there. And by the way, obviously this is not editable. This is an image pasted from the web page. So you would basically kind of delete this image and then put in your new image. Just paste it in there. So that's what that is. The 6x4 index card pasted in this little frame. See how the frame didn't change? It's locked. So that's how that works. And then to get out of this, you can, by the way, before you do any editing of this document, you always want to save it as a copy. Because if you don't, and you're logged in, it will overwrite the one that's in there, which is okay, and it's only a template anyway. But if you don't want to overwrite that file with what you're editing, the new images you're putting in, then always, before you do anything else, is File, Save As, and then open that saved document, just in case. So let's close the header footer. We're done. You can see it's back to being like we normally opened it, and then even though it's in the OneDrive, it's auto-saving. Can't do anything about that, but we didn't really make any change worth considering or worrying about, so we'll get out of it. So we're exiting. Close the browser window that it called up, and we're back to our page. So that is essentially a review of how the index card system works and the options that you have. I believe that's everything we need to discuss, so there we are. Oh, and here's, by the way, CMTI. When you're up here, and this is the 3-vehicle roster, you're going to put the guy's name or whatever. You're going to just, put his name like this, and then you're going to way over and go, combat, morale, tactical, aggressiveness, and initiative. This is reserved. I'm not sure what to do with this yet. And there we are. Thanks.